Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we will be diving into containerized deployment of Node.js application. We will see how to Dockerize Node.js app and deploy it in Kubernetes cluster. We will have a step-by-step guide to set up Docker desktop, Minikube for Kubernetes, and understand the Kubernetes command line to deploy application, manage resources, and monitor the cluster status. By the end of this video, you will have a Node.js application running in 3 pods under a load balancer in a Kubernetes cluster, and you can scale it like a pro. So if this sounds interesting, then stick around. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel or press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I have here a very simple Node.js application which I'm going to give you a walkthrough of it. So in the package.json file, I have a standard package.json file and have installed a dependency of the Express. Then I have created a simple Express server, and this Express server exposes an endpoint which is this slash, and we just get a response like hello from Node.js app running in Kubernetes, and we listen to our port. Now we can run this application locally. Let me go to the terminal, and in the terminal I'm already running it using the node index.js, and the server is running on port 3001. Let's go and let's check. So if I go here, I will have the localhost 3000, and we see here that hello from Node.js app running in Kubernetes. Now since we have our application ready, now what we need to do is we need to deploy our application on Kubernetes, but before that we need to create a Docker image of it. Now let's understand the complete architectural view of deploying this Node.js application via Docker and Kubernetes. So I will go back here, and here is the architecture looks like. So here we have our simple Node.js application, which I have just given you a walkthrough of it. The first step will be to Dockerize this Node.js app. This will be based on the Docker file that we are going to create. Once we create the Docker image, we can run the image on the local container. So I'm using a Docker desktop. Now once our image is running on the local container, the next step will be we create a tag to the image, and after that we push the image to the Docker hub, so that from the Docker hub we can just pull that image and then we can deploy it in Kubernetes. So here you have your image pushed to Docker hub. After pushing the Docker hub, what we will do is we are going to use a Minikube, which will be a local Kubernetes environment on our machine. And with this Minikube, what we need is we are going to create two YAML files. One will be the deployment YAML, and another will be the service YAML, which is actually going to expose the deployment, like the load balancer configuration, the ports, and the external endpoint which can be used on the browser. Now we are going to deploy our application on 3 pods. So we are going to replicate the application on 3 pods so that we have a high availability. And then once you have a proper deployment, what you will do is you can just check your expose app URL, and you can use that URL into the browser to see whether your application is running on Kubernetes cluster or not. So this is the complete overview architecture that we are going to follow. Now to proceed, we will need two things. One, we will need a Docker on our machine. So I am using a Docker desktop, which you can just download it. So I will go to the official doc here, and in the official doc, if we go here, we can just click on the download Docker desktop, and you can just download it based on the operating system that you are using. I already have downloaded on my machine, so I will show you this is how the Docker desktop looks like. The second thing we will need is the Minikube, which is the local Kubernetes setup. So I will go to Minikube, and on the first link here you can go to the get started, and here is the installation guide that how you can install the Minikube on your local machine. So it is a local Kubernetes which is focusing on making it easy to learn and develop. So since we are just starting with the Kubernetes and we are learning it, so we can just use the Minikube, which will be a very simplified version and easy to start and stop. All right, so I'm using the Mac, so I used a homebrew command in order to install it. And if you want to just start your cluster, you can just use the Minikube start. I'm going to show you how we set up the cluster along this tutorial. All right, so we have both these softwares available on the machine. The next thing we have to do is let's go to the Visual Studio Code, and we will first start with the Docker file. So we are going to Dockerize our application. So what I will do is I'm going to create a Docker file. So we will have the Docker file, and I will also create one more file which will be the docker ignore. So I will have the docker ignore, and inside the docker ignore I'm going to add my node modules. I don't want them to be built within the image, so I will have the node modules and npm debug log. Okay, so we have these two. Now in the Docker file, we will first start with the Node.js image that we want. So we are going to use the from, and we are going to add the Node.js image. So I will have node 22 hyphen alpine. All right, so this is the base image that we want our application to be built. Next, we need to set a working directory into our container. So we are going to have the work dir, and this is going to set the working directory. So I'm going to have the /user source, and we have the app. After setting the working directory, the next step will be to copy the package.json file from our project to this working directory. So for that, we will have the copy. We're going to copy the package.json file, and to copy it in the working directory, you can just use /. So this is how it will get copy from your local machine to your working directory in the container. Once you copy, you need to run the npm install. So we are going to have the run npm install. So that is going to install all the dependencies. Now after having the dependencies, we need to copy the other files of our project. So to copy that, what we will do is we are going to use the copy from dot, which is the current, to dot, which is the working directory. So this is going to copy all the files from our project from the local to the container working directory. Then we need to expose our port. So we are going to expose port 3000 because we are running it on a localhost 3000. So we are going to just export that. And in the end, we need to run the application into our container. So for that, we need to have the command. So let's have the command. And here we are going to have the node, and we will use the index.js. All right, so this is a very simple. We just have few steps. We are setting the base image. We need to set the working directory, that where in the container we need to have all those files. Then we copy the package.json file, we run the npm install, we copy all other files, expose the port, and then we have the command to run the application. All right, the next step will be to create a Docker image locally from this Docker file. So what I will do is either I can use this terminal, or I will also use the terminal from my Docker desktop. So I will go here. Okay, I'm going to increase this. Yep, and then let me go to that directory. So I will have the documents, codes, Node.js tutorial, and then we are going to have the Node.js Docker, and if I do ls, then I have all my files here. Now in order to create the Docker image, we are going to use the command as docker build, and we are going to use the -t, and then we are going to have our application name. So let's have our application name as I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it here. All right, I'm going to hit enter. So we see that we get an error. So what we have missed is let's go back. Yep, and we need to provide a dot in order to build that image. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter now, and you will see that the Docker image had started building it. So we have the Docker image now, and here all the commands you can see, it's starting from the base image that we have set. Then it's going to create a working directory, copy the package.json. So all those steps that we have written into Docker file, it has used the same steps and then Dockerized our application, and we get a Docker image. So now we have the Docker images. If we go to the images, then we should be able to see our Docker image. So let me go here and let me find all the Docker images on my local. So I will have the node Docker, and you will see that this is the Docker image that we have just created. Now we have the Docker image. We can run this Docker image. Either you can run it from here or run it from the command prompt. So what I will do is I will clear the console. Now let's run the Docker image on the local container. So to run that, I'm going to use the command. Let's have docker run. So this is going to run. We need to provide the port. So I'm going to have the port 3000 with the Docker container port 3000. And we run it in a detached mode. So I'm going to have the -d. All right, and then we provide the image name. So I will just copy my image name and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so we see that the port 3000 is already in use. So maybe what would have happened is if I go and refresh it, then we see that this is being used. So I'm going to kill my local server. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to kill this first. All right, now let's give a try again. So what I will do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to give a try again. And this time you see that the container has started. So if I go to the container, what you will see that this is the container that is running, and the previous one did not start it. So I will just delete this. Okay, So this one, it started, and if I click on it, then we can go here and we can see. So now we can run the Docker image on the local container. So this is also working fine. We are running it in the Docker. Now the next step will be to create a image tag and push this image into the Docker Hub so that we can use it in the Kubernetes setup. So what I will do is, in order to create the image tag, I'm going to go here, and first we need to log into our Docker Hub. So I'm going to have the Docker login -u, and I'm going to give my username. So let me have my username. All right, I'm going to hit enter, and I will need to give a password. So let me give a password, and you see the login is succeed. Now the login to my Docker Hub is succeed. Now let's create the image tag. So to create the image tag, we can have the Docker tag, then our application name. So I'm going to copy this. All right, and we need to tag it against my username. So what I will do is, I'm going to have Dipesh Lohar 348 slash, and I'm going to have this one, and I'm going to give the version here. So I will have the version 1.0. I'm going to hit enter, and you will see that now the Docker tag is created. Now let's push it to the Docker Hub. So I'm going to have the Docker push, and now let's push this image. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to come here, and I'm going to click here, and this is going to push my image to the Docker Hub. All right, so the image is pushed. Now if we go and check, so let me go here, and I'm going to go to the Docker Hub. All right, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to sign in. So now we can see that if I zoom a little bit, then this is the image that we have pushed it. Node Docker K8S tutorial. So now we have our image pushed to Docker Hub. Now this can be used in the deployment for the Kubernetes. And in the Docker desktop, let me go to the terminal, and what I will do is I will clear the terminal. Now we need to start the Kubernetes on the local. So as I showed you here, if I go to the Minikube again, let me go to the Minikube, and if I click here, if I go to get started, then in order to start the Kubernetes cluster, we need to use the Minikube start. So let's do that one. So I'm going to go here. I will have Minikube start, and I will hit enter, and this is going to start the Kubernetes on the local Docker container. So we will just wait for it. Meanwhile, what we can do is, we can just close this. We don't want to run the image on the local container now, so I will just delete it. Okay, and here you will see that now a new container is started with the name Minikube, because we are starting the Kubernetes cluster on our local machine. Okay, so we see that the Minikube start we have done, and we have created the local Kubernetes cluster, and it is prepared. So now we have this. The next step what we need to do is, if we go here, then we see that we have this step is done. The next step we need is the deployment YAML and the service YAML file in order to do the deployment and run the application into the pods. So what we will do is, let's go to our application here, and here what I will do is, I'm going to create a folder, and I will name the folder as K8S. All right, now let's go to that folder. So I will go to the K8S. Now here there are two ways to create the deployment YAML. Either you can go here and you can just have your deployment YAML file, and then you manually add everything here. So we can add like API version, and then we can provide the version as apps/v1 and so on. But I'm not going to use this method, because here I have to write it everything manually by myself. What I will do is, I'm going to remove this. Okay, and I'm going to delete this file. So let me delete this file. Okay, so I'm going to use a command to generate this file, and then we can just modify the data we want into our deployment YAML file. So what will be the command is, what I will do is, we will have the kubectl, and if I hit enter, then you will see that there are a couple of options which you can just apply using the kubectl. So if I scroll up, then what we will do is, we need to create a resource. So we are going to use the create, and we are going to use the expose. All right, so I will clear, and we will use the kubectl create, and we need to create the deployment first. So I will have the deployment, then we will give our application name. So our application name, this will also get changed to kubectl. So let me fix this. So this will be kubectl, and we will need our application name. So let me copy the application name from here. So I will go to the images, and if I go here, then I'm going to copy this. So I will use this name here, and after the name, what we will do is, we are going to define the port. So I'm going to have the hyphen, and we're going to have the port equals to 80. Okay, then we will need to define the image from where the image will be pulled. So I will have the image, and this will be equals to the page Lohar 348 slash our image name, then we need to provide the version. So I will have the version. So this is basically the Docker image that is available on the Docker Hub. Once we have this, we are going to make use of a dry run, and this will be equals to client. So this is going to prevent the actual deployment while we create this file. Then we can have the -o, the output. We want the output in the form of a YAML, and we want to write this output into our deployment.yaml file. I will hit enter, and we see we get an error, and the error was --port. Okay, but we have the deployment YAML here and we don't have anything here. So let's fix that first. So I'm going to delete this file again, and let's fix that. So what we have made a mistake here, we have this problem with the port. So this should be target port. So I'm going to change this to target-port, and our port was 3000. So I will have the 3000, or we can just remove the port for now. We don't want it. Let's remove it. Okay, I will hit enter. I made one more mistake, and this should be equals to deployment. Our deployment is misspelled. So this time it is created successfully. If we go here, then we will see that we have the API version, and this is the kind of deployment. Then we have the meta, labels for our application, and replicas. Here what we can do is we can change it to 3. So it's going to deploy in 3 pods. Okay, then we have, and we will keep everything rest as it is. So this is the container. It's going to pick the image from this Docker Hub, and here we can also define a port. So what I will do is I will go here, and I will have the ports, and in the ports I will have the container port 3000. Okay, so we have this one. Now, once we have this, we will also need to expose this deployment, and to expose this deployment, we need to create a service YAML. So what we will do is, for creating a service YAML, we have a very similar command to create a service YAML. So I'm going to clear this. Okay, now after clearing this, we will have the command for the service YAML. So I will have the kubectl expose deployment. Then our application name will come here. Here we need to define the port, and this port will be equals to 80. We will need to define the target port. So let me have the target port, which will be 3000. So 3000 is the container port that we have defined here. Okay, so we have the target port. After target port, we are going to have the load balancer, because we are going to have 3 replicas. So we cannot go and connect to an individual pod. We are just going to connect to a load balancer URL, and then it will internally serve the application from one of these pod. So this will get changed to load balancer. Then we are going to have the dry run client. We are going to have the -o as an output. We want in the form of YAML, and we are going to have the service.yaml. Okay, so this will get changed to this one. Okay, so now let's give a try. So I'm going to hit enter, and it says that error from the server deployment.apps. This one is not found. So we don't have any deployment with this name. Okay, so what we can do is, first we created a deployment, so we will just apply that deployment. So I'm going to delete this file once. We have created the deployment YAML. Let's apply that. So to apply that, you can use kubectl. You can use apply -f, and then we can just provide the deployment YAML file. So I will have the deployment YAML file. I'm going to hit enter, and here you will see that the deployment apps, this is created. So once this is created, now if we try to create the service using this, then it should work. So I'm going to go and rerun this. All right, so now it's created. If I go here, then you will see that this is a kind of a service. And what I will do is I'm going to change the name. I will just append a service on the meta. So the name would be service. I will just remove the labels. We don't need that. So this is our service, and this one is our deployment. So we have created the service and the deployment both. The next thing we need to do is we need to apply the service also. So let's apply that. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to apply the service YAML. Okay, now I'm going to hit enter, and we see the service is also applied. And when we do apply, this basically tells the Kubernetes to create the resource defined in these files. So now we have applied both. We have given the deployment YAML and the service YAML. Let's go and let's see, verify whether the deployment is done or not. So we can do either kubectl. If we want to get all the deployments, we can just use the deployment, and if I hit enter, then you see that this is the Node Docker tutorial. It's ready, up to date, and available. If we want to get more details about the pods, how many pods and all those, so what I will do is I will have the get pods, and here you will see that we have 3 pods because our application was deployed on 3 pods based on the deployment replicas we have defined it here. Now if we want to get all the details, I'm going to clear this and let me get all the details. So I'm going to have the kubectl get all, and this is actually going to give us everything. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this is going to give everything. It is going to give me all the pod information. It's going to give me the service information. So this is the service information, cluster IP and load balancer. This is going to give me the deployment information. All right, and if you want to see the logs of any of the individual pods, we can just use the kubectl logs and we give the pod name. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it here and I'm going to hit enter, and here you will see that the application is running on this pod. Similarly, if we go and check for the other 2 pods also, the application will be running on those pods as well. Now how do we check this application? So if we go to localhost 3000, does it work or not? Let's go and let's check. So I'm going to go here, and if I refresh it, then it's not working, because although the application is serving on the localhost 3000, but it's on the individual pod, and we are not going to connect to the pod directly. We are going to connect to the load balancer because we have a load balancer in front of it. So to get the external accessible URL, what we can do is I'm going to use the Minikube. Then we are going to use the service, and let me give my service name. So this is my service name. So I'm going to copy, give my service name, and then we can just define ---- URL, and I'm going to hit enter. All right. So here, if I go to this and if I go and check, so let me go this. I'm going to go here and I'm going to hit enter, and here you will see that hello from Node.js app running in Kubernetes. So that's how you actually deployed your Node.js application to Kubernetes cluster, which contains 3 pods, and you have a high availability of your application. Now, although this tutorial is not containing the automated deployment, like whenever you just make a simple change in your Node.js application, and all the process that we did manually here get automatically done. So we got this one. We have a couple of more commands related to Kubernetes which I want to show you. Like if we want to describe our deployment, let's say something goes wrong into our deployment and we are not able to figure out, then what we can do is we can just describe our deployment. So I will have the kubectl, then we are going to use the describe, and I will have the describe service, or you can also describe the deployment. It's up to you. So let me describe the deployment. We need to give the deployment name. So this is my deployment name. I will copy, put it here and hit enter. And here you will see the details about the deployment. So you will see this is the deployment name, namespace, our app name, and all the details. Replicas 3 desired, 3 updated, total 3. Similarly, if you want to see it for the service, you can have a service here, and let me change this to service. So I'm going to change this and I will have a service here, and I'm going to hit enter. And here you will see all the details related to the service. And yeah, one more thing, if you want to see the individual endpoints and everything, so here you actually can see the individual endpoints, but there is also a command which will give you all the individual endpoints, and that will be kubectl get endpoints for the service. So I'm going to copy the service name and I'm going to put the service name here, and here you will see that you have the service and individual endpoints. So these are 3 individual endpoints, and these endpoints are related to the pods endpoints. So you cannot go and directly access these pods endpoints. Better you will go to the load balancer external endpoint, and then you can just put it in the browser and you run your application. Currently it's not working. So if we want to get it work again, what we have to do is we have to do this Minikube service. Okay, let's copy this, let's put it, and we have it here. So that was a simple tutorial, which is something new we are going to explore. We are exploring the Docker and Kubernetes deployment and understanding the deployment service in Kubernetes and different pods. So if you like this video, thumbs up is appreciated. You can also connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.